Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle. Hey, thanks for listening to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. Faith radio podcasts are only possible because of your support. Thanks for giving and for sharing with a friend.
Doing life together, reaching out with hope, encouraging one another, each step along the road. You and I can make everything a little better, doing life together.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Linda Mintle, the relationship doctor, and I'm here along with my co-host, the other Dr. Mintle, my husband, Norm. And every weekend, we're here, we're doing life together, and we're so glad that you've joined us.
It's a good weekend, right?
It's
been
great
good.
weekend.
Yeah.
Weekends are always great.
Yeah, I love it when the week goes fast and suddenly it's the weekend. The problem is then the weekend goes really, really fast.
And then it's not
And it's
the
Monday. Well, we know some of our listeners may not be having the best weekend or whatever day of the week you're listening to us. One reason might be due to depression. Did you know, of course you know, depression affects an estimated 17.3 million adults in the United States. That's 7% of all U.S. adults fighting depression. That's astounding and sad and depressing. So today we're going to talk about depression and specifically how you can help yourself feel better.
And we don't want to put you down if you're feeling depressed. We're just bringing out how common and prevalent this is in our culture. It is one of the most prevalent of all the mental health disorders, Norm. This is the one that people experience the most. And it needs to be treated because it can interfere with your life, and it obviously can cause you a lot of distress. It can ruin relationships. It can cause problems at work. It can affect the way you eat and sleep, and create just overall distress and get in the way of your everyday functioning.
And I've heard you say that it can also affect your physical health. How does that happen?
Well, I don't imagine that we always think about that connection, right, between depression and our physical health. But for example, if depression is left untreated, and notice I'm saying untreated,
Right.
it can make recovery from a stroke or a heart attack more difficult. Also, people who are depressed don't always follow their doctor's prescriptions, putting them at risk for even more illness. So there's lots of body, mind, spirit connections.
Sure. Well, during this particular episode, we're going to limit our conversation to adults and talk about approaches to depression that are not medication-based, right?
Right.
We're not downplaying the role of medication for some people. Absolutely not. But not everyone needs or even wants to take an antidepressant.
Right. So we're not against taking antidepressants, but I'm also an advocate for whole person treatment. So a lot of times medications, Norm, will deal with the symptoms, but they don't always get at the root of the problem.
Of course.
And so we want to look at lifestyle and how there are so many other things that you can do to help with depression. And for some people, antidepressants are not even effective.
Interesting. Well, related to that mind-body connection you mentioned, I think we've all had something we'd call a gut-wrenching experience or butterflies in our stomach. Is there a connection there?
Yes, there's a connection to both. That's because our gut is sensitive to emotions. So the brain has a direct effect on the stomach and the intestines. So for example, the very thought of eating can release the stomach's juices before the food even gets there.
Which is why you get hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a brain-body connection.
Okay.
You might have heard the gut referred to as the second brain. Have you ever heard anybody say that?
Only you.
Okay, well, but it's not that the gut is capable of thoughts.
No,
It does not,
no.
but it does communicate in other ways with your brain. So our two brains, the gut and the brain, are talking to each other.
Okay, they talk, but what does that have to do with depression? Isn't depression chemicals in your head?
No, specifically low levels of specific type of bacteria in your gut are related to increased rates of depression.
Wow. Well, and according to published research, certain gut bacteria are linked with people diagnosed with depression regardless of whether or not they have antidepressant treatment.
Yeah, for example, when you comfort eat after a very stressful event, it actually changes your gut, or what we call your microbiome, and that makes depression worse.
Wait a minute. I've just had a stressful event. I need comfort food. I eat it, and that adds to my depression?
Because it's a diet issue. So it depends on what you're eating. For example, if you get enough fiber in your body, that can really work on what is the bad bacteria, which is making depression worse. It can actually help to make depression better. So things like eating enough fruits and vegetables, keeping sugar down, those really help. So it's worth a try to try to modify your diet and include things like fish and omega-3 fatty acid intake, what we call micro and macronutrient intakes. Maybe you've heard of prebiotics. A lot of people have heard of probiotics.
Right.
So basically what you're trying to do is eat a diet that is largely plant-based and includes a variety of plant foods like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, tomatoes, and more.
Sounds like our dinner.
Yeah, well, we do try to get those in there. So basically, if you want a diet low in processed foods and rich in plant foods. So it's kind of what we've heard all our life. Vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, grains. That would support a more diverse gut, that microbiome, which is called the gut. And if you have more diversity of different types of bacteria in your gut, it actually fights depression.
Well, I'm thinking about how most of us Americans eat. Not quite like that always. There's often a high consumption of red and or processed meats, refined grains, sweets, high-fat dairy products, butter, potatoes, high-fat gravy, low intakes of fruit and vegetables, the stuff that feels good.
Yeah, so that could be contributing to depression. So your diet does make a difference in your body and how you feel. So consider your eating habits and maybe make a few of the changes we just mentioned.
Wow. Well, what's next in terms of lifestyle changes related to depression?
Okay, no surprise here because I talk about it all the time. Exercise.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
I know, but exercise elevates your mood. It boosts your self-esteem. It can help lower stress, increase relaxation. And guess what? It decreases symptoms of depression. It releases those feel-good endorphins. And it also helps with balance, with energy levels, and just feeling more flexible. That's a lot of benefits from exercise.
You talk about this all the time, and it's like exercise is the magic pill for all illness.
There's a lot that it helps. There really is.
But if you're depressed, do you really feel like exercising? I mean, wouldn't that be the last thing people want to do?
And that's true. That's true. But we're looking for ways to change our lifestyle and things that you can do that help you feel better. So again, if you're not taking an antidepressant or you need more help, these things that we're talking about in your lifestyle are going to make a difference if you do them. So exercise is one of those things you should do.
So really just make yourself do it.
Yes.
It's the old just do it slogan, even though you don't feel like it and you want to stay in bed.
Yeah, so here's how. So daily exercise really does ease the symptoms of depression by increasing levels of serotonin. Have you ever heard that word, serotonin?
You have told me that word, and tell me again because I don't know what it is.
It's the happy chemical.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, the neurotransmitter that contributes to people feeling good and happiness. So if you have low levels of serotonin, anything you can do to boost this is a natural way, and that's really great. It's found in the brain, but guess what? About 90% of our serotonin is also in that second brain, the gut.
Wait. The brain and the gut, the two brains working together, but the serotonin is in the gut, not in the brain?
It's in both.
Okay.
But about 90% is in the gut.
Wow.
I know. So they're working together. Now, look, you don't have to go to a gym. You can walk, you can bicycle, you can golf, you can garden, you can wash your car, you can do anything. Try doing things that you enjoy because then you're more likely to stick with them, right? But the point is, get up, get active. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park farther away from the store. Just do whatever you can to get more physical movement and just see if you feel better.
Okay, I'm scared to ask you this question, but how much exercise do I need every day?
Well, the recommendation is 30 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week. You're going to feel better. Now, look, you can break down that 30 minutes to 10 or 15-minute periods, and you're still going to get the benefit. But you have to keep doing exercise on a regular basis to get that benefit.
And will I sleep better?
You will. That's one of the benefits of exercise. Am I convincing you, Norm, to get up and get more active? We're trying.
Katie's giving me a dirty look, so I'm not sure if that means I should or I shouldn't.
But listen, exercise does normalize your sleep patterns, and it improves your outlook. So lots and lots of benefits to this. Protecting against heart disease, diabetes, lowers blood pressure. It also grows nerve cells in the brain, which helps relieve depression.
Wow.
So just start with 5 minutes of exercise a day and see if you can boost it up a little bit.
That makes sense. And that's doable. I like
It is.
that. Many of us are looking for all natural ways to fight depression, and I think that's about as natural as you can get. But how about more sleep? Is it important to get more sleep? Does that help, or does that make it worse?
Yes, it does help because insomnia can increase the risk of depression, and sleep disturbance has an impact on our mood. Also, it has an impact on the way we think and our motivation. So you have to get good sleep to live in good health and mental health. And one of the symptoms of depression is either too much sleep, Norm, or too little sleep. So you have to regulate your sleeping.
Okay, so let me get it straight. Depression causes sleep problems, or sleep problems cause depression?
Both.
Both.
So you've got it both ways. If you don't treat the insomnia, your risk of depression really increases. And it's common among people who are depressed.
Okay.
So you need to make sure that you don't have a physical sleep problem, like maybe you've got obstructive sleep apnea. So maybe there's something physical or medical that's going on that's creating a problem. And that sleep apnea is a condition in which you wake up frequently and briefly through the night. And if you have some type of medical issue like that that's interrupting your sleep, you need to go for a sleep study, get that treated, and that could actually really improve your depression. It might even be the root of your depression.
What's the connection?
Well, disrupted sleep, for any reason, leads to emotional changes. It's a sort of a mental health marker for mood. So you need to rule out any medical cause for poor sleep first, then work on ways to get better sleep. Improve your sleep, improve your mental health.
Well, there you go. But
Bumper sticker.
Yeah.
We should make one.
One of our bumper stickers we've never printed.
Yes.
Speaking of disruptions, I'm sorry, but we're going to take a quick break. But when we return, more lifestyle ways to help with depression. We'll be right back on the Dr. Linda Mintle Show.
There's no doubt about it. We are definitely living in the text, Twitter, and email age. The handwritten note has become quite the relic. But just because we don't write much with pen and paper anymore doesn't mean we should forsake the kind and encouraging message. Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle, the relationship doctor, and I want to encourage you to share a kind word. Even if it's a text, the power of telling a friend you're thinking of them, complimenting a success, or just saying, hey, hang in there, can make all the difference. If you've ever had your day interrupted by just a quick but genuine message from someone close, you know how a thought can raise your spirits, rejuvenate your mind, or help you stick on a difficult path because someone just cares. While you're listening right now, someone may come to mind, someone you can encourage with a few words. Take a minute and text, tweet, or email that person. Tell them you value them and the part they play in your life. It just might change their whole day. Everyone worries, don't they? Well, just listen to the nightly news or read the economic forecast or even talk to your family. Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle. Opportunities to worry present themselves many times during our day. So why would God tell us not to worry when it almost seems like it's impossible? First, He knows the physical damage worry does to our bodies. Second, He wants to calm us down by taking the burden of control away from us. Hey, we don't have control, no matter how much we think we do. He does. And third, He wants us to trust Him. The root of worry is doubting God. Doubt is not trusting that God is who He says He is, or He will do what He says He will do. So every day, take your worries to God. Rehearse His goodness, accept His grace, and walk in the confidence that He is in control and He's working all things for your good.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show, and our topic today is lifestyle changes that can help with depression. If you'd like more information on this topic and other relationship issues, just follow Dr. Linda on her social media at Dr. Linda Mintle, Dr. Linda Mintle on X and Instagram. Dr. Linda Mintle, author and speaker on Facebook, and then her website is drlindamintle.com. It has blogs and links to her many books. She's written about relationships. One of those books fits perfectly today, Linda. It's that pocket-sized one you wrote called Breaking Free from Depression.
Yeah, those little booklets, they're so easy to read, and they incorporate not only the physical and the mental, but also the spiritual into the conversation. So we look at all kinds of passages in the scripture, and they're quick reads, and they're easy. 1, 2, 3, do this.
And you can carry them around and give them away because they're inexpensive.
And they're cheap.
Right.
They're cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Right. Yes, that's
They
for
are
sure.
now.
Right now. All right, let's keep up our good talk about lifestyle changes helping with depression.
Okay. One thing that we talked about was sleep, right? But you really need to calm your mind before bedtime, because a lot of people have a very racing mind. And then they try to, they try to go to sleep and they can't because these thoughts are coming in. So it really does help if you do some type of meditation on the Lord. You could pull out your Bible, you could read a couple of scriptures, you could try to focus your mind on God and prayer and to calm your mind down. So that's a really good one to help get you to sleep.
Sounds like a good pre-bed routine.
Well, and there's a lot more you can do in terms of a routine to unwind. So the first thing I would say is turn off all your electronics by a certain time. Cut off the lights, the noises, the distraction like the TV. Norm, that blue light in screens overstimulates the mind and it suppresses melatonin, which is a hormone that helps you sleep. You know how a lot of people take that when they travel?
Right.
I think you take that when
I've
we travel.
done overseas.
Yeah, it works for you. It doesn't work for me. But all of that blue light in screens is disrupting that, and it's
Screens like your phone?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's causing people to have trouble sleeping. So make sure your room is dark. There's a whole website that's called Sleep Hygiene. If you just Google sleephygiene.com, it'll give you all kinds of tips on how to get ready for bed and try to have better sleep. But I think reading, some deep breathing, relaxing, I've done this many times where I am having trouble falling asleep and I'll just focus my mind on the Lord and then begin to quietly pray and eventually I'll go off to sleep.
I've often wondered about this one. When I can't sleep, I don't know if I should stay in bed and toss and turn and keep trying to fall asleep, or does that just make it worse?
It usually does make it worse because now you're worked up over not sleeping.
Right.
You
Right.
keep trying, you want to.
And you're looking at the clock.
Yeah, over and over and going, come on, go to sleep. But it's better to get up, move to another room, do something low key like reading or listening to music. When you feel more relaxed, then try to return to your bed to sleep. Because what this does is it helps your brain associate the bed with sleeping.
Well, I try to read because then my eyes get tired.
Yeah, and that's really good. But get up and do something if you
Right.
can. My aunt, remember Aunt Mart? She would get up in the middle of the night and clean all the time.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's one German way to keep your house
it
gone.
was.
That's right. I once heard that if you get outside every day, that helps you sleep. What does that mean?
Well, it has to do with the sunlight, which is full of vitamin D. Now, some people are low on vitamin D and they need to get their vitamin D levels checked, and that could really improve their mood. But vitamin D also does enhance the mood. So sunlight helps your circadian rhythms recalibrate and get back into a rhythm. So that all has to do with that sleep cycle and those rhythms in sleep. And if you can't get out into the sunlight, open your curtains or sit in the sunshine by a window whenever you can. A lot of people are low on vitamin D and then they're in these offices that have no windows and they don't even get any sunlight during the day. So it's really tough.
Fascinating information. Let's turn to spiritual issues. We know that Christians also struggle with depression, right?
Well, if you read the Psalms,
Right.
you'll see how David was depressed at times. I mean, and Norm, some people are just more prone to depression based on their biology and their life experiences. So we have to be careful not to judge people in terms of what they're going through. But your faith is definitely the number one thing that can help you with depression. And it concerns me that faith and religion are being taken out of our culture when faith is something that helps people fight depression.
Right.
And so being able to talk about spiritual things and apply your faith to your mental health, that is so important, and we're going the wrong direction with this.
I agree.
But just holding a belief in God, listen to this stat, makes you twice as likely as someone who does not believe respond to treatment better. Just holding that belief that God is there and he's real.
Well, we just want to say this again. Having depression doesn't mean you lack faith.
Right.
Or that there's some kind of sin or spiritual shortcoming in your life.
That's right. And that is just so important to understand that it's not necessarily a spiritual deficit. Focus your mind on God's truth. So a lot of the depression that we feel has to do with the way we're thinking. And then our thinking, especially when it's negative, can impact our emotions and our feelings. So if you focus your mind on God's truths and the spiritual help that's in the Bible, that's going to help you a lot.
Right. Well, here's one. Jesus said, "Come to me, everyone who's weary or tired and burdened, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. We define the soul as the mind, will, and emotions. So finding rest for all of that stuff that's in turmoil makes total sense. Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
Basically, Christ is inviting us to be in a relationship with him to fight depression.
Yes.
Give him that sadness and those emotions that you're feeling. Cast them on him. That's what it's talking about, is giving it to him.
Throw them on him.
That's
Give
right.
it to him. Get rid of it. Well, you've talked about faith changing our brain, right?
It does. It does. A thickening of the brain cortex happens when you're involved in religious activity. So we've got all this imaging. We can see what's happening in the brain, and we know that religious activities and belief in God improves mood.
And with faith, you can certainly surround yourself with other people of faith who will then provide support.
Which is another key issue in fighting depression. You have to have social support, and the church is a great place to get that. Isolation, we know, is bad for depression. Actually, it's bad for a lot of things, right? And for most of us, if we're isolated. When we're isolated, we can easily get discouraged. Sometimes, though, don't you find this, that Christians try to project sort of this confidence and victory when they're actually feeling really awful underneath. So I think we need to be honest in the church and recognize that some of our Christian friends struggle, and maybe we struggle at times, and we need encouragement, and we need to support each other in those struggles.
Dr. Linda, someone listening to us may be thinking, yeah, but I don't feel like going to church or getting involved, especially when I'm depressed.
And that's usually how a depressed person feels, because the easiest thing is just to stay home and isolate.
Avoid, right?
Yeah, so you want to do the opposite of what you feel. When you're depressed, you want to pull back from life and give up your responsibilities at home and work. Don't. Stay involved and have daily responsibilities. This will help maintain a lifestyle to counter that depression. That means go to church and commit to a small group. Both of those things will ground you, and they'll give you a sense of accomplishment on top of everything. Those social support networks really, really make a difference in terms of loneliness and fighting depression.
What are some other helps?
Well, it helps to keep in regular contact with family and friends. That's the support we're just now talking about. Consider joining a class. Maybe you're a little bit, you're thinking, oh, I can't do anything. I feel so terrible. I'm shy. Right. But, find something you have an interest in and join a class and see being around people and doing something new could really help your mood. Volunteering. That actually has been shown to make depression so much better. When you get your mind off of yourself and you're volunteering and you're trying to serve to help others, that will do another thing. And even, we see a lot of people have pets, bonding with a pet. That really helps to reduce it as well.
Well, on my Facebook, I get all my little reels now are dog reels.
Because you looked at one, probably.
Because I looked at one, and I didn't look at the cat ones, so now I get all dog ones.
The dog ones are cute, though.
They lift my mood.
They do.
Well, I like what you're saying, because if we stay in the Word, the Christian story is always one of hope, and it brings purpose to our life. We're in a good place then.
So when you keep your focus on God, remind yourself that as long as you have breath, He has something for you to do.
Oh, that's good.
And to fulfill His plan for your life. So, you're downtrodden, yes, but you need to meditate on the promises of God, and you need to be intimate with the Lord while you're feeling bad. Just pour out your heart to Him. And you need to remember He's got a purpose, and people with a strong sense of purpose can handle life's ups and downs better. You have to remember there's a day of hope coming, and it's always going to get better. So our message to you is don't give up, no matter how bad you're feeling today. God has more to do with you, and He wants you living in His hope. So do what you can to fight depression through these lifestyle changes that we're talking about. So diet, exercise, sleep, connecting with other people, volunteering, feeding your soul with God's word and His promises. Listen to Psalm 40, 1-3. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet upon a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him.
Amen.
Of all the lifestyle changes you can make, the most important one is to stay hopeful in God. He has a purpose and a plan for your life. Well, that's all the time we have today. Many thanks to my co-host, Norm Mintle, who makes the show a conversation, and to our technical producer, Katie Sims. From all of us here at Faith Radio, hey, we'll talk to you again next weekend. In the meantime, remember, we're doing life together, and it's better when you don't have to do it alone.
Doing life together.
Hey, thanks for listening to this conversation from the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. These conversations are available because of your support. Become a supporter now at myfaithradio.com. Please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes, and share it with friends so we can live life to the fullest, walk confidently, and find healing and hope.